Namaste friends, my name is Pankaj Bansal and I've been in talent space for last 2 decades. Most interesting part is the last few years. In last few years, almost every conversation with every employee, every CXO takes the conversation from talent towards either technology or purpose. Technology probably because everyone wants to leverage technology, and purpose because everyone wants to give meaning to the talent. And we thought at PeopleStrong that why don't we put together something where we can have conversations with futurists, with thought leaders, with opinion makers, who can help us demystify this subject when they see talent and technology at an intersection. So once again, welcome to the first episode of first series of Talent Tech Talk. It's not a tongue twister, but a very well thought through name because this whole talent and technology will be talked about in this session. And once we thought or conceptualized this idea, the biggest challenge was to identify the person to have the conversation with when we launch it or inaugurate it. We scanned the country, we scanned the globe, and we reached to the name which is kind of obvious in our choice, but not easy to find. So friends, we bring to you the most celebrated name in this space, the name that has defined HR, technology, talent, and the world of new work in more than one ways. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Santrupt Misra, who represents the $42 billion global conglomerate Indian giant called Aditya Birla Group. So we have Dr. Santrupt Misra with us, who's going to have conversation with us on this interesting subject, not only to demystify, but to tell us what is there in the store of the future. So Santrupt, we have discussed the future of work, the characteristics of workforce. Now this brings us to the most interesting and pertinent question of talent and technology, that is ERPs, the global giants, the traditional ERPs. What is going to be the future of them? I have been contesting and thinking and working up in my head that is there a future for them?
Well, I honestly must say I don't know the answer to that question, whether there's a future. I think they are the ones who should be answering the question, because I suspect after a stupendous growth of ERPs, with new agile technologies coming up and bolt-on ecosystems coming up, I'm sure all the ERPs are thinking about how they could be more modular, standalone, how they kind of in an open systems collaborate and work with other technologies, whether keeping it closed and proprietary on too many things, would it be right? Could that be an aggregator model? That I am at the center of connecting multiple technologies, and my ability to connect that is my core offering rather than a pure IPR developed, implemented, licensed by me. I think I'm pretty sure ERPs are thinking along those lines.
Are you saying that SAP, Oracle, Workday, PeopleStrong, all they can exist together? And they can be used simultaneously?
I think that given that technology is creating flexibility, and flexibility and choice is what people are seeking, lot of giants, including those who are in the mid-market like PeopleStrong, like you, who have also developed a model of some kind, you all at some point may have to even come together to collaborate to say, we will offer to the end client choice and flexibility by letting our technologies talk with each other rather than trying to create artificial silos. Because the market size would be so large and the choice issues would be so predominant in client's mind that perhaps that might force you to do that. But again, as I said, neither I'm a technology specialist, but from a user point of view, that is how I think about it. The other aspect of it is that, and why that might get forced, is because the classical ERP, the adoption time was too long. Today people want to take onto a technology by pressing few buttons and they are there and organizations are there. Now that model of long adoption, rollout, all of that, whether people have patience for it, people have resources for it, people can wait for it, are all questionable. Therefore, alternative modes of adoption of modular small byte technology would be relevant. How do the ERPs re-engineer themselves to live up to that reality? I'm sure they are specialists, their own designs, all of them are thinking about it.
Wonderful. So I think it's very exciting to hear, probably first time, that we are moving towards open space architecture so much that Dr. Misra is saying that the world of ERPs will collaborate to look at customer and consumer at the center rather just focusing on their business.
Just if I may add, it's not surprising therefore to find that whether Google, Apple, IBM or any of them, giants, are all the time looking for small technologies and acquiring companies that have that technology. Because whether they collaborate with them or they acquire, they do understand that the other model cannot by itself meet all the requirements. So therefore, it's not surprising that a lot of acquisitions of newer, nimble, smaller entities is happening by larger companies.
Very interesting, Santrupt. Thank you. Friends, this brings us to the most interesting part of our conversation with Dr. Misra, which is truth and fair. This section is where Santrupt will have to opt and answer, keeping his view in mind, whether he wants to share the truth part or the fair part. So Dr. Misra is going to take a stab on the questions that we are going to ask him, and let's see how truthfully and how fairly he puts up the answers to it. So Santrupt, the first, right?
I'll be fairly untruthful or truthful, you'll have to see. Yeah.
We will watch that out. So Santrupt, the HR departments buy technology. Do they really involve employees for whom this technology has been bought?
It's a fair question, but the truth is that most of the time they do involve.
They do involve?
Yes.
Great to hear that, because that's not what we hear from employees. They feel that we don't get to voice out what we want. We still don't get leave systems. We don't get basic systems like attendance. I don't get my payroll and reimbursements, multiple vendors, everything.
I know that the campaign in the Aditya Birla Group we have had is around a theme called Brilliant Basics. And we have always believed that before you offer fancy technology solutions to people, make sure that technology enablement of basics have happened.
All right. What is one feature that you think is obvious and missing in ERP technologies that you've been using? What's one thing that you think is very basic, but they just missed out the point?
I think perhaps voice-based interactivity. Everything has to be kind of physically input in many of the processes. So I think the speech recognition and voice therapy, voice recognition technology that's coming, increasingly getting used, I think those being built in. Like for example, if I want to update new skills that I have acquired or experiences acquired, if I have to go into a database and open and write in some manner, I think that's too time taking. But if there is an opportunity where I say, go to skills section and say that I have been part of due diligence in an acquisition, and that kind of gets captured in my database, it'll be so much simpler and faster.
Right. So what you're asking for the next generation, you're saying what we use day to day in our lives, why not in HR technology?
Exactly.
So Santrupt, the last question on Truth and Fair section is about artificial intelligence and the mobility. You even sit on the boards of ONGC, of financial services. When you look at that sector, when you look at the whole conglomerates, when you look at the Indian workforce, specifically in HR context, do you think this flight of artificial intelligence and mobility will be cut short because of HR's focus on cost, compliance and controls, be it because of CIO or the organizational system?
Well, that may be the reality or the truth today, and maybe a fair question to ask. But I think it's a question of time before adoption happens. Let me give you an example. Whether companies' IT infrastructure should provide employees access to social media or not has been a subject of debate for a long time. People have gone both ways, you know. They have restricted, they have opened it up. Similarly, I think every time there is some risk that happens from somewhere, we little overreact and try to clamp it down. Again, understanding of risk with regard to information, data, privacy, all of that is fully not grasped. Technology adoption is still fairly at a nascent stage. I think as we move through maturity and the comfort grows, perhaps some of the threat perceptions on mobility, artificial intelligence, and therefore the kind of the famous debate between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, is the kind of debate that is healthy to have, and we will increasingly have. But I believe that, as I think Mahatma Gandhi perhaps had said, I can't recall, that nobody can stop perhaps an idea whose time has come. So I think artificial intelligence, mobility, its time has come. Adoption may be slow and different paced by different organizations and societies, but it is here to stay.
So like many of us, Santrupt is hopeful. So before we close, one line from you on Santrupt, CEO or CHRO? You've played both the roles. What's more fun?
I was an HR guy, I am an HR guy, I will continue to be an HR guy. Being CEO is perhaps a short-term hobby.
That brings us to the end of the very exciting, interesting first conversation with Dr. Santrupt Misra on the first season and first episode of Talent Tech Talk. I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed and all of us enjoyed. Thank you very much, Dr. Santrupt Misra.
Thank you, Pankaj. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So Santrupt, in the end, there will be 2 copies which will be given to our friends on the social media who's going to retweet, do on LinkedIn, at many places we're going to talk about it. So we will request you to sign 2 copies and the 2 winners will get a personalized signed
Happy
copy.
to. Good luck to your viewers and to your listeners.
So we will look forward, and please make sure that you retweet it, you talk about it, and the most liked, most retweeted stuff will have 2 interesting books coming their way. So 2 winners for the social media from personalized copy of Dr. Santrupt Misra. And Santrupt, as we bring this to end, we also would like to give you a small token for your table for your sipping your tea.
Thank you so
Talent
much.
Tech Talk.
Every time I have a sip, I will.
Thank you. Thank you.